This presentation is aiming to let you know about the positive trajectory we are already on with diverse inclusion and feminine leadership. So when we start out talking about like feminine leadership, I always like to talk about like abundance, that we are allowed to have abundance, that wealth is a positive thing. When I was 12 years old, I had a peanut butter jar my mom cleaned out, and I was using that jar to put my chore money in. I was watching visually my accumulation of wealth happening. By the time I was 12 years old, I had a bank account started. I was also babysitting a lot. So I had 3 months worth of clientele that I was marketing out to. Word had spread about my babysitting, and I had a full-time business at age 12. By the time I was 16 and 18, I knew that wealth, currency, could provide me independence. It was a positive thing. At 16, I was a waitress. At 18, I was a bartender in America. I don't think that's even happening anymore, but it provided me independence in the way that I could buy my own clothes. My parents could afford a certain level of clothing for me, but I was able to buy like J. Crew clothes, which were a big deal in the 1990s. I paid for the gasoline in my car. I paid for all my entertainment, going to the movies, so forth. So when I had conversations with my parents, it was more of a collective thought of, hey, I'm going to go to the movies with Lisa. I didn't have to ask my parents for anything. And that made me feel good. At age 19, I knew that wealth provided me support. I not only was paying for all my own entertainment and clothing and food when I was that age, but I also had $5,000 saved in my bank account. So when I went off to college, I knew that my accumulation of wealth was supporting me. So heart-centered is our new currency, and that women deserve wealth and abundance. So we really want to strip those old world thoughts of, I don't need to charge my client that much money, or it's okay if I'm not rich. The more money you accumulate, the more abundance you have, the more you can serve others. And if you want to dig into that further, I've left some other women, I'm bridging some women to you on this screen right now. In 2007, I saw that my stocks were going down right before the 2008 crash. I pulled my money out. I paid my rent 6 months in advance, and I dropped some money down in my utility bill. And I just told them, call me when it runs out. I gave myself the freedom to think and dream. I was going for runs every day. I was writing poetry, and I was thinking of other women. If other women weren't working 3 or 4 jobs, single moms trying to make ends meet, always thinking about, can I make rent? What would the freedom provide for their minds to invent and create alongside us? So at that time, I wrote a poem and I gave it to every presidential candidate, about 15 that were running at the time. And I'm going to read that to you because in that poem, I also wrote in my letter, let's get rid of these two-partied systems and let's create the bridge party. Let's all bridge together. And how funny that that's our theme today. So our time as Americans has come to work together by example, leading our nation into our future. Upon arrival, we will find rejoicing around the globe in our growth as a nation, as humans whose hearts are now whole. We no longer simply see man or woman, skin color, separation by religion, Republican or Democrat, monetary or dream, left brain or right brain, science or art, kindness or achieving. By working together instead of arguing at each other, we create harmony for ourselves, for our ancestors, for our children, and for our neighbors, no matter the distance of land, ocean, air, or footsteps between us. Let the valves of our heart open, extending dreams to each other. In reality, the kindness of our collective souls will rise above. Humans will further elevate to higher purpose here on Earth and galaxies beyond. The 2 candidates out of the 15 that wrote back to me when they were vying to be president were John McCain, who ended up heading the Republican Party, and our now President Obama, who was then running as candidate. The both of them wrote back to me specifically about how this poem was encouraging them to run for office. So dreams do come true. I'd love for you to flood the chat right now. What bridges do you already create? As women, as business leaders, what bridges do you already create? We know we do. We know we have 1,000 of them. So I'd love to see in the chat right now, what bridges do you already create? I know as a woman, create bridges even when we are having people join for the holiday meals, right? So go ahead and flood the chat. What bridges do you already create?